Hi, everybody. Happy Saturday on Labor of Love, Saturday Night Live. How are you, Tricia?
Hello. Oops, I'm in the chat saying hi. How
Uh,
you doing?
I know our chat's so wonderful. How are you feeling? How's your wrist and all that stuff?
3 weeks down.
Oh,
And
good.
yeah, so 3 weeks down, I go back uh, in another less than 2 weeks. And if x-rays are good, which I think they will be, then I get a new fiberglass cast that's shorter. So
Oh, cool.
and that'll be for
Excellent.
2 more weeks. And then I think by March 31st, everything should be off if it goes all as planned. So
Oh, excellent. I'm so happy to hear that. Things just happen at a flash, and you just kind of have to adapt. Um, but
yes, thanks
it's
for
a
asking.
absolutely. It's a beautiful Saturday here in Virginia, and it's just something when the sun comes out and it's you start to see buds on the trees and things. It just lifts everything up. And um, I've been really looking forward to tonight so much. To talk to Donna, who is she's a mover and a shaker, and she is putting on such an amazing event. And then with Laura Worley, who has the most incredible story. And um, I just am grateful and honored that she is here. Um,
Yeah.
she will, yeah, and she'll also be at the event coming up that we're gonna actually start and talk about. So without further ado, I'm just super excited to bring on Donna. So I'm going to bring her on. Hi, Donna. How are you?
Hi, ladies. Thank you so much, Ellen, for having me here.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness. You're such a force, Donna. You really are. You when you want to make something happen, you make it happen. Um, So, so tell us, before we bring on Laura to hear her story, tell us about this event coming up. And basically, this is the second annual, I guess. You did it one other time, and now it's happening at the second annual. So tell us about how this kind of got started.
Well, I think we're all God's children and we follow our gut instinct. Tricia, I can't hear you when you talk, just FYI. I don't know why. It doesn't come across to me. But anyway, and I kept getting this feeling that I had to bring the events and information, wonderful, intelligent, well experienced people who share their information and their love for humanity, really, and disclosure. And
Right.
so I really was resistant on going to any type of conference, but I had to listen to my gut. I follow my gut instinct. I felt like that's God's lead for me. I'm like, you're not going
Yeah.
to make me go to this conference. Anyway, I go to a conference. I'm like, my whole life just changed. I felt so connected. I was like, look at this. This is where now the work for my life. At this point in my life, now I'm in a driver's seat I'm not even in charge of the steering wheel. I cannot
Hmm.
believe that I have to bring it to the East Coast. More local. I was like, like Nassau County is where I live at this point, and I don't see any real events here in New York at all. And I'm
Hmm.
like, New York's such an important state. I think it represents a lot of things about America. Anyway, so I followed my instinct. I was fighting, I was hemming, I was hawing, and finally, when I reached out to Elisa V, we all know our Elisa,
Hmm.
and I'm like, listen. And I told her pretty much what I had said to you. And I said, I want to, let's get me in touch with Laura. And I definitely wanted Kerry Cassidy.
Hmm.
And she gave me the information, and it happened so fast. I mean, the electric in the body, boom, boom, boom. Everything happened quick. Okay, so I'm following the lead. It was a great beginning. It was a great show. There were so many glitches with a lot of things. And then people will say, Donna, because they don't want anything to come to the East Coast. They don't want it in New York. You have to start getting ready that you're going to have all of these issues because they don't want this to be spread out of, us the boots on the ground. And I used to go, not me. I'm a nobody. I'm just trying to get a few people together just to grow and learn and be aware. But of course,
Yeah.
the most important revelation is so incomprehensible. It puts you in a deep, dark place yourself when you first realize, like, what you just learned about what's going on, especially with kids.
Right.
I never really recovered from that. It's like now this is my purpose on the planet. It's my purpose while I'm here, and I
Yeah.
can't avoid it. And I don't bring it
Yeah.
up to my family and friends and community if they're not into it, because I learned the hard way, like everyone did. Because you're so
Right.
excited to share, and you won't believe what
I
you got to
know.
know. And we all got our asses kicked doing that. Okay,
Yeah.
good. I got over that. Fine. And then
Yeah.
to move it along, I listened all the time, and I have never been guided incorrectly. And when I didn't listen, I say, that's because you didn't listen, right?
Hmm. Right.
So, and then I said, Elisa, we gotta do. I mean, she's a wonderful supporter. I mean, I learned so much from her. She's just an excellent leader, and she's a loving,
Yeah.
good person. And Stu, of course, has the sidekick there. The two of them are wonderful.
He is.
And so many people have been so nice. But anyway, I said we should do this every 6 months, because it's spreading out, and you'll see more people are gonna want to know, because they're gonna be so confused. And then thank God for the Epstein papers. They're a horror, believe me. And I'm trying to tell people, this is the PG version. They're
Right.
shocked by
That's
what
right.
they're reading. But I said,
Yeah.
okay, so I think universally the world is prepping now for more to come out. So I really think that these
Agreed.
events are really important to have. I
They
think
are.
how they are. Go
This is a
ahead, Ellen.
this is a perfect timing.
Yes,
And
yes.
I'm showing the website, Donna. Basically it's happening April 25th and 26th in Lynbrook, New York. And you can go to theawakeningsummit.org, and we'll put those in the comments. And just, even just, with just Derek Johnson, for crying out loud, is to
Oh,
me,
you know, you
is
know
is
why? Do you know why I have him? Is because God told me to have him.
oh,
Not over religious. I can't tell you a lot about the Bible. I don't judge anyone's choice of how they're being a good human. I don't really care about any of that. I had to have him here because New York loves America. We maybe have some black cloud over us somewhere, but New Yorkers are really a strong community, and
yeah.
we
He
need that constitutionist military man in this state to talk his peace of mind and to yell at all of us and to wake us up. Well, I don't know if he'll wake everyone up, because we all know what that
Mhm.
is, but I know that there'll be a
Right.
few people that'll be interested in learning more about what he has to say. It's so
Absolutely. And
important.
there's some great, Dr. Jan, I just she really woke a lot of people up.
You
And
know it.
Sheriff Mack, I have interviewed. He's wonderful. Joe, of course, is just such a heart. He's heart, and he's on the West Coast, and he's coming all the way over here.
We
All these
love
speakers are
Joe.
so, with
Yeah,
Scott
all
too.
of them.
And then Abrahams, people love him in this community here, because he does amazing work for children. And then Lewis
Yes.
Herms, of course, he's running for governor of California, for crying out loud. So, I mean, it's going to be a wonderful event. And Elisa and Stu are going to be the master of ceremonies there. And
Yes.
I'm just thrilled and excited. And one of the main speakers, Laura, who's with us tonight, and I want to dive in with her in just a second. But I just wanted to share this with everybody, because it'll be really special in New York, and hopefully people will at least go to theawakeningsummit.org and just check it out.
So I just
And
wanted to
just
say all our VIPs are sold out. It looks like people are becoming much more interested, and I think people are uncomfortable. And let's remember, it's always about the children, and it's about what
Yeah,
they've done to people. And Laura is going to
right.
present her story, which is the
Yeah.
catalyst of the event, right?
Yes, yes. And that is also the main topic of what this summit is going to be about. I mean, it's near and dear to everybody's heart. And to your point, Donna, this is what you have been led to do. And to bring this topic out more and more. And exposure has to happen first, and then, then
Yes.
people will be dealt with. So without further ado, I want to bring on Laura, but I do want to talk describe a little bit about her, who she is first. Laura Worley is an MK Ultra survivor. She's an author, she's a speaker, trainer, and a coach who has built her career around supporting survivors of complex trauma and ritual abuse for the last 14 years. As an accomplished author, Laura has 3 influential books that serve as essential resources for both survivors and professionals working in the specialized field of ritual abuse recovery. Her groundbreaking training program, developed from years of experience and research, equips professionals from diverse backgrounds with the specialized skills and knowledge needed to effectively support clients who have experienced satanic ritual abuse and MK Ultra programming. So it's an honor to bring on Laura Worley. Thank you for being with us. This is such an honor.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. You know, your story is, and we were talking about this before we went live, because I think because there are more and more people with similar stories as you, Laura, that when people hear them, they tend to be more open to this actually happening. When you hear it from different people all over that don't know each other even, and you start to say, okay, I'm going to have to pay attention to this, because it's so hard and horrific, and it's hard that people who are just living their lives and have no idea this is happening could actually believe this is happening. But we're coming into a time with all the PG version, as Donna said, of the Epstein, that it's bound to now, people will look at it with eyes differently than they were before. So if we could just start with your story. You, I know, were born into this family, and I believe it started with your grandfather. Is that correct?
Well, satanic ritual abuse, I believe, was 8 generations, but the MK Ultra I was put in the program by my grandfather. So that there's a difference in timelines there.
So tell me that. Explain that though, so I can understand that better. We can understand.
Well, satanic ritual abuse has been around since the beginning of time and has been in the Bible, right? The Old Testament testifies of how they threw their children, sacrificed them to devils. They talk about witchcraft. They talk about, how they're sacrificing, worshiping all these different idols. It's the same thing. We might call it satanic ritual abuse, but it's the exact same thing. And what they're doing is they're worshiping Satan and these demon gods that are really from like ancient Egypt, Babylonian, Greece. Those things that are in the Bible, they're still worshiping those same. They called them gods, but they were demons. And so that's the main thing of satanic ritual abuse. You're sacrificing something to Satan. And in exchange, they're getting power and ancient knowledge. So, and that's why they like to give the kids and the babies, because they're the purest and they're stealing their life force, and they're also rebelling against God. So that's their main purpose, is to fight against God.
And so the use of the MK Ultra programming, did that come, like I have heard about, after World War II, that particular type of programming, or has that always been around as well?
No, I mean, I'm sure that they've done some kind of mind control, because I know that in Egypt, I believe at least that they did mind control then, that they had different techniques. But as far as MK Ultra, supposedly it started in 1953, but I believe that they started a form of mind control in 1947. Enough people have kind of testified of that, and it matches the timeline of my mom. And so basically I'd already grew up. I when I was getting all this help, I knew that my grandfather would always talk about Truman, but I didn't, I just figured, I guess that he probably had some way of putting me in the MK Ultra program, because I'm like, how do they know about me? My grandfather, he was very rich, but I believe it was because of the deal he made of giving his whole family away. So when I got to prove it, you may have heard that because I just basically said that the first time on Michael Jaco. And to research it, because I'm doing a project and God said, go research Truman. And that was like proof of everything for me, because Truman started the CIA. He brought over all the scientists right? He had
Mhm.
he had tons of meetings with an intelligence officer that was from Hitler. Um, he basically, he's into Freemason. He's the 33rd president. He's the 33rd Freemason. And so as I'm researching it, God was teaching me that this is how they're friends. They needed kids. And so they made a deal with my grandfather. If we can have your kids, my grandpa made a deal. The Lord showed me this many years ago, though, that my grandpa made a literal, legal, documented deal that the military in the MK Ultra program could have our family for all future generations. So it's legal binding and spiritually binding, and they bind it with demons. So anyway, my grandfather gave up my mom, which I believe she started in 1947, and she had 3 siblings. And then I would have been the second generation in the MK Ultra because I was born in 1961. So anyway, they were full gone, like they knew exactly what they were doing in 1961. Like they knew exactly what they were doing. So how long they've been doing it, because they do share that in UK, is 1917. No, is that right? 1917, they started a form of MK Ultra. So they already started it.
Wow.
And who knows what with the Nazi scientists, whatever they, what knowledge they had and how long they were practicing it.
Right.
But
That's right.
yeah, so they brought it over and taught him. And these scientists, they brought in the best of the doctors, the psychiatrists, the psychologists, when they were doing experiments on us. Like every child in the MK Ultra program is deeply, deeply experimented on. Like that's what isn't talked about a ton. They will do every kind of experiment that they want. Like if they get a bright idea, well, they have plenty of scapegoats that they can just do whatever they want to. They don't have to answer to anybody. They're paid a lot of money. They can do whatever they want to their subject. They can sexually abuse them all they want. They can torture them. They can, that what they are doing, and they're very big on, is corrupting the DNA. So, every survivor, their DNA is taken and stolen and experimented with different species, with different things, because they're trying to basically defy God again and make something that's a hybrid of,
Yeah. I have to stop you there just for a second, because I followed the military drops, the Q military drops, and the very last one is protect your DNA, is the last drop.
yeah,
And I'm sure we will be finding out more and more about what that means. And obviously,
yeah.
what you just said is touching on why we have to protect our DNA.
Yeah, because their literal goal is to corrupt the human DNA, so nobody's really human. And that's at least the way I understand it from a couple experts, is that in the time of Noah, that's when God wiped them out because they had corrupted all their DNA. And of course, they were really wicked. But a part of it was they were already corrupting their DNA to the degree that God had to, wipe them out, basically. If you want to know more about that, Laura Sanger is pretty good, Dr. Sanger, about getting into that.
Yeah.
But they're trying to do the exact same thing. And they steal survivors' DNA for clones. And I would imagine every survivor has, a couple clones, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. That's information, Laura, that what is interesting to me too is that is also coming out, I believe, soft disclosure, just in the form of Jim Carrey coming out the other day and not looking anything like himself. I mean, they're trying to slowly just at least plant the seeds for people that this is actually possible.
Right.
Your information is for a certain amount of people that can really grasp what you're saying, but I think for average people, they can only take little bits and pieces at this point. Don't you agree, Laura?
Oh, sure, absolutely. I mean, it was hard for me to believe, really, but I worked with so many survivors, and every one of them would tell me about that. So, and there's
Yeah.
another thing that they also, I won't get into it right now, but there's also something that they also said that would be very hard for people to grasp. But if you really go down that rabbit hole of understanding, you would say, yes, I believe it, but it's very difficult. It goes along with the theme of the Bible and what was created at the beginning of the giants. And so the Nephilim, and there's a whole story behind that, but that might be getting too heavy. So,
hey, Laura, can you hear me? Because I know that Donna, I don't think
I can hear you now.
Oh, you can. Okay. I know that you also talked about this program being created all because of the New World Order, and we have the military programming. Do you have any insight as to, because this is done on military bases, like why and how they target people? Like they approached your grandfather, but what was their any ideas about what was their recruiting platform, or how you qualified? Because there's supposed to be millions out there, right?
yes, there are millions out there. Well, the first category of where they go after is all satanic ritual abuse families and their children, because they already know the kids are made to be quiet and not to tell, and that they've already learned how to split their minds. So they're the first candidate that MK Ultra is going to go after. And unfortunately, another category they're going to go after is every single family that's in the military. So if they're a long military family, more than likely they will go after their children. So that's another category. So when I hear a family, has been in the military for a long time, I'll just say this and you guys can take it the way you want it to. I'm just telling you what I've experienced working with a lot of people.
Okay.
And my own knowledge of it is that if they join the military, the government, the CIA, whatever you want to say, they're going to find a way to control a little bit of them as much as possible. Many soldiers are under MK Ultra. Not everybody is born into it, but they will be able to get a certain amount of mind control into them in just their period of service. So it's very easy for them to do it at this point. And they use technology to put it in very fast. But so I personally have a lot of compassion for military men and women. I have watched what they did to a whole bunch of military people where they implanted this new technology. So I know what they're doing to them. So there's this lady who was a military person. She said that to say, if you were a military person and you get out, you have to break the contract and oath you made to the government, because I guess you have to make some kind of covenant oath, whatever, to be, when you join the Army, military, Navy, whatever, you have to make some kind of,
commitment.
Commitment to the United States government. And she says it's really important to break that. Because unfortunately, the United States government doesn't stand for good. So
yeah. When you say implanted, are you talking about physical devices or more of the brainwashing program?
No, what I witnessed was a physical implant. It was a new technology that they have put them in. And am I getting ahead of myself?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, long story short is maybe just give a little background on my story real quick before I get into this piece of it, because it's
absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going through the MK Ultra program. My mom went through the MK Ultra program. So in the womb, the programming starts. I started at 30 trying to remember what's going on with me. And a therapist said, start writing because I think you have something suppressed. And so I did a freehand writing, which helped me to remember every sexual abuse thing in the beginning, right? It was just my family. And then the next thing I remembered was the satanic ritual abuse about 4 years later. And then a few years later is when I remembered the military and Hillary Clinton and the rest of them. So it took me years to remember it. because that's what they make sure that you don't ever find out who they are. They hope that when you remember the sexual abuse from your family, you'll stop. And I just thought, okay, that's the way it worked with me. But working with all these survivors, the same thing happened to them. What do they remember first? Their family. And I believe it is part of a setup by the cult that if you start to remember, you're going to remember your family first and blame them, because then you won't look for them.
Right.
And so anyway, through trying to heal, recover, I had a million memories, and I was left with a ton of pain. And my husband and I spent a ton of money trying to get help, and there really wasn't help in the 90s. In the early 2000s, I did work with a survivor, a therapist who had worked with 300 survivors. And I paid him a lot of money, which contributed to a great deal of just crap in our family. It totally tore our family apart. But anyway, he had removed all, like, what I call the front programming, which is Disney and whatever the scientists want to play with your mind, basically like a video game. So I had removed all that. And then I finally found some holistic modalities to deal with my pain, which was tapping and other things like body code. And I was so happy that I finally found something that would release the pain for me. And after I'm starting to live a great life. I'm really happy. I have a full-time business working with clients. I'm traveling the world. I'm speaking, doing all kinds of things that I'm very happy. And then in 2015, I started having similar back, a long time ago experiences or feelings. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not happening after all I've done, because this is like over a 20-year period.
Yeah.
And they still could call me back. And they did call me back. And that's how it all started, really, is because, first of all, they called me back with the New World Order soldier program that was put in me in the 60s. And this programming was to lay dormant and never to be used until the New World Order was about to happen. And so in 2015, when Hillary Clinton was going to be the next president, so to speak, they wanted everybody updated. So I was called back for that update. And that is kind of how I think it cracked open all the rest of the information, because I'm like, God, how in the world, after all this work, could they be able to call me back? And then he started showing me, and he showed me it was the New World Order. And then he started teaching me, and he really started teaching me this about the New World. It's about the inverted Kabbalah, which is what survivors have at the very, underneath everything. That's their true spiritual programming. And anyway, so when I was there for that, it was for a week. They did 4 days of updates and 3 days of rituals. And those rituals, everybody was there that you can think of. Like everybody in the United States, people from other countries, all of them were going full in on these rituals to make sure she was to be the president. But part of the ritual was that the men and women of the Anthony Fauci had come up with, I don't know who developed it, but he was showing them that they had a new technology, and they had military of every form, like Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. And then they had put this implant of new technology, and they were all very excited to see what it could do. And so bottom line is that Anthony Fauci had a control mechanism, so to speak, and he made the soldiers do things, and everybody was very excited about that they had control of the military. And then the ones that were doing their performance, then he killed them with the he did a button, whatever he did, and they all died. So this is real. And I don't, that was in 15. So you can imagine the technology is even more.
So just to confirm what you're saying, I just have to stop there for a second, because I interviewed a fella who his name is Ben. He's a lawyer. He goes by Sun Tzu War, and he it was talking about, and he does things for America's Future, which is committed with Mary O'Neill Flynn O'Neill, with child trafficking victims, and he was saying that it's, too, that it's taken time because they've been having to find and eliminate these cells that you're talking about. These people who were meant to be able to take care of things all over the planet and detonate things and destroy whatever they were programmed to do. That part of
Activated.
that was trying to find all of those cells and eliminate them so that there wouldn't be a catastrophe all over the world. So what you're saying is being said by other people, for sure. And I want to also go back, when you were called back in 2015, were you called back physically or
Mm-hmm.
just mentally called back? Physically?
Physically, yeah. I lived in Las Vegas and I was called back to Las Vegas. I just drove myself. Because I still had the program. And so what I try to explain to people, because a lot of people don't understand what that means exactly. So if you have a program in you of mind control, okay, it's like a compartment, and it has all its little characters, so to speak. And those characters have codes or trigger words, and they know they have a job to do. And it's like somebody set a movie inside that compartment, and that those characters only know that movie, like what it is, their job is, what this world is. So it's their world. They don't know anything out of that. So I had a compartment of the New World Order soldier. So there's a whole bunch of characters in that system. And so all they did was say the right codes to the right characters to have the character drive to where they were supposed to go so they could be updated. And so that's how it works with people. They can be updated with a phone call, with text, email, something can be actually on TV, because Biden actually and Hillary Clinton at different times on TV were activating a lot of the MK Ultra by what they were saying.
Wow.
And the colors behind them.
Yep.
They were activating. And so they'll do that too. But that's common. It's going to be common for the New World Order soldier. So you have millions of survivors, most of which are not free. And then we're going to take a whole nother category of MK Ultra survivors who have no clue they're a survivor. So
Yeah.
what's going to happen, hopefully not, but I'm just saying what can happen, is they have this hidden program, this hidden system.
Mhm.
All they have to be doing, like what the plan was in 2015, 3 of them were going to get up and say the same message, whatever it was. And then that would activate all the soldiers. So you have to realize that this is still in millions of people, most of which do not know it's in them, and which they still can be called up to do these things. They each have their individual job. They all know, like, so let's say I'm here. I've got somebody above me, above, it keeps going all the way to the very top. So let's say it's even above the president. Who's ever at the top of the Illuminati says, this is what's going to be done. This is, you now tell everybody. So there's a system, there's a hierarchy, and they all tell each other, going all the way down to little Pee-wee. And so it's very organized. So when one says it up here, it's going to get to the bottom very fast. And then they know what job they are to do and when they are to do it. I actually had a couple survivors say that when the New World Order started, they had a specific person in the government that they were to kill in their state.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
A politician
so,
who sold their souls. Yeah. They have no idea that they're getting rid of. The New World Order, they're getting rid of all the politicians. And they sold their soul, right? The politicians, most of them sold their soul for this. But they don't even know that a lot of New World Order soldiers are going to kill them.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
It's
Donald
insane,
Trump came in and kind of disrupted that whole thing there, with his presidency. And
he is, but you have to realize that this is still going strong. I mean, anybody that thinks it's all broken up, it's absolutely not. It's not. It's too powerful, too strong. Like, this stuff goes on at almost every military base. You have to realize that the trafficking is still going on at the military bases. The MK Ultra program is going stronger than ever. None of that stopped. Like the CIA is still running full-fledged. Pentagon, FBI. Nothing's being broken up. So that means there is no stopping in this stuff. And I'm sorry I'm very strong in that area, but I stopped working with them after my husband was killed. But you have to realize they were still, a lot of the survivors came in to see me. They were being called back. Okay. They were still being called back. That's only a year or two ago. So you have to realize there's so much more to this. And I know when people don't really, that haven't grown up in this kind of thing, think, oh, well, a few guys are going to go stop it or Trump's going to stop it. No, he's not. He's going to have it. What has to happen is we need to close the whole dang government down, because I'm serious. Like, we have to start over, because they cannot be saved.
Right.
The corruption is too big.
Yeah.
I don't see how it can be saved.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hear that, and that could be coming.
I hope so.
I mean, we don't know for sure exactly how. We're not supposed to know at this point.
That's how you're going to save and stop the MK Ultra, and you're going to save a lot of kids, is to shut down the government. Because see, right now they have endless amounts of money, and there's no oversight, and they don't have to answer for anything they do. And that's why they can do what they do. So,
and the fact though, Laura, and I think what you're helping to give me a perspective too, when people who don't understand the layers of depravity and deception, they wonder why things aren't happening faster. And it can't, because of many, many reasons, including the layering of the evil that has to be dismantled. And it has to be done in a certain way so that people aren't sent off on a mission to do some really, horrific things unknowingly even.
Right.
So it's just a level that there's just so many levels to this. But you went past something quickly. You said your husband was killed.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Okay, well, I'm not supposed to cry, but anyway, I try not to say too much about it. But well, at the end, my husband was doing a lot of the work with me, and he was helping me like teach training and seminars. And then I wrote my second book, and my second book came out. And from that moment on, Steve and I were attacked spiritually to be killed by the greatest levels of evil that were doing satanic rituals to kill us. That means they sacrifice something to kill us. We were dealing with this for 2 years nonstop. And if you've never been attacked by this, you can't understand the level of evil they can control and wield. I didn't even know as a survivor what they could do, but we found out. And then I started working with Mothers of Darkness, and I think that added to everything. And then Steve was trying to help me figure out things to help them. And it got really intense, because I don't need to say this, but anyway, it got very intense. And so then we were overcoming this spiritual. So I thought, we'll overcome it. God's helping us. We'll get through it. And then the satanic cult, whatever you want to call it, did something to him in a physical form that broke his heart. And then right after, he got a bulb of cancer. There was a tumor right here, and he was supposed to go in, get it out, not a big deal, and go back to work in a week. Not a big deal. Long story short, the doctor did everything he could to spread it, and in 3 months, my husband had 5 tumors here in his lungs, and they killed him. But everything he did was to kill him. And it was about 10 days after Steve died, and there's about no way. It's like they came at him with every form. But anyway, it was 10 days after he died, and I was just sitting in my living room, and I was praying, and I wasn't thinking anything. I was just being quiet. I was reading the scriptures, just being quiet. And then I heard the Lord say, "Is that your husband died a martyr?" And sorry.
No,
That's okay.
At time, it took me a little, like I wasn't able to digest, I guess, everything. But then as I started going over everything they did to the doctor, what the doctor did, and I just feel like God was showing me that he spread the cancer on purpose and that he worked for the cult. And that's not hard to do. They can do it all the time. And this one nurse said to me, I thought she was kidding, but she goes, the hospital is just a legal place to torture people. And I looked at her and I thought she was kidding, and she was not. She was as serious as could be. And I don't blame any of the nurses or anything, because they didn't have anything to do with it. But everything he did was to spread it. And I don't know. I guess they were gonna. That's how they, were gonna get to me, supposedly. But there's so many things that they've done to Steve and I over the years. Like, this isn't the first thing, because before we even really knew about the cult, at a conscious level, it took many years, but they hurt my husband as well, and he's not a survivor. And so there's been a lot of hell that we've been through, and they've done things too. When I got help with that guy that had helped survivors, they made sure we went bankrupt. They have tried to discredit us in every possible way publicly. They've tried to do that to me, like a couple women who have some they're channels that have a lot of survivors, and they have went after me. I mean, it's all the same shit. Excuse my language, but it is.
Yeah. No, that's okay. Well, just to give you a minute to breathe here, I wanted to show your website, because it's just so beautiful, and it's laurajworley.com. And with everything that you've been through, you're doing beautiful work for people. You've got 3 wonderful books they can buy on Amazon. And it puts together, you're putting together the puzzle pieces. Basically, it's your journey of putting together the puzzle pieces of your memory. I mean, it's just such a incredibly important story that you're weaving for people, not only now, but for our future, for the people in the future to understand. And you're doing wonderful work for a lot of people, and you're doing a lot of services as well. And I hope people will go check out your website, and we'll put those in the comments too, and everything that you're doing. But I do believe that what you're doing, Laura, right now is it's literally just the tip of what you will be doing, because this story is just having the eyes to see it is just very few right now. But there's going to be many, many, many more, and you're going to be helping many, 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 many more. And I think you're just having a preview of just a few people around the globe at this point. Tricia, do you want to say something?
I did want to just let people know that she's also got a Rumble channel, and I actually was watching a couple of her shows, the Q&A being one of them, and then the story that you told about being called back in 2015. Anybody, if wants to go back and get a little bit deeper dive into that conversation, she actually tells a really good story, and you actually do name names. That was called something about
puzzle pieces together. Was that puzzle pieces together? I called everything puzzle pieces together because I feel like that's kind of what survivors go through. We have puzzle pieces, to what happened. This is just how it worked. Is number 1, 2, and then 3 was based on my clients' information that they gave. Number 3 was, and it's very heavy, but it's also information I think at least about the Mothers of Darkness and the Druids, probably everybody needs to know, because the Druids especially affect humanity. And but anyway, most of what I write is not even my story. It's just information to help people understand, and for survivors to get free, and professionals to learn how to help them. Because my biggest thing is I could not find any professionals to help me. And they would continuously tell me, I can't help you, or, I've never heard of this. This doesn't exist. And so I thank God, because I learned so much, that he wanted me to get the information out first. Like I did do interviews, and I have done interviews, but I feel like it was all under a covering. And then I feel like God has just said, now is the time for you to speak.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I finished those books. I am working on something else, but it wasn't important at that time for my books to have my full story, because
Right.
it was more important for survivors to have help and information. Because the professionals, I think some want to help, but they have no clue how to. And this is
Right.
based on really my experience working with all the survivors and God showing me what is truly done to a survivor, and not what we've been told is done to a survivor, and in the MK Ultra. So anyway, that's really the main purpose,
Yeah.
because I didn't want people to go through what I went through. So
And I want to go back to this for a second with Donna, just to give you a break for a second. So that's why it's so important, this event coming up, that's April 25th and 26th in New York, because this is going to be one of the main focuses of the event, and Laura will be there. And Donna, is that correct?
Yes, Laura. You know what I love about you is the fact that you wrote books to help survivors and what techniques are given. It's awful information to put out there to the public. It's very unbelievable most of the time. But for those that are victims and survivors, they don't really have tools. There's a woman
right.
named Susan who's coming. She deals with local child survivors from trafficking, but you're much more complex and deeper. But the most bravest survivor that I've met as of today, and I'm very
Oh,
grateful that you're coming. But the fact that you survived and that you made a point to help others, I think that's what all of this is really about. And the fact that you have books to bring and tools that they can use, I think that's a very good feeling. It's hopeful. And I know this is the crack that we're just starting to do. Like when you're saying it's so deep, they've been doing it for billions, probably since the beginning of creation. This cult behavior has been going on. I mean, and now we're starting to change. We're in transition. The earth, the planet, all of us are in a transition. It's not going to happen overnight because it's too explosive.
right.
And the way it's coming out, the Epstein files came out, that's very hopeful. That's a beginning. That has people to wonder. You coming on stage and you speaking to people, even today, whenever else you speak out, people are going to hear and relate to you. You're a very important person at this time in our world. Very, very important. And I hope to have more Donnas out there that do more grassroots gatherings. I would love to help them bring speakers into their community, and survivors can come in. They may know of someone who was a victim. This is all about bringing awareness. It's the awakening awareness that's happening on the planet. And, I just wanted to
Absolutely.
mention about your husband. I had sudden deaths in my family too, and things happen. It happens. It creates us to be who we are. You got to remember only the good of that person, and that anatomy, the body that died, it's just a physicality. But the experience that you have with this beautiful man that wasn't altered like yourself, who loved you unconditionally, is a gift. And you're stronger today because of that love of him. And you cry all you want. It's beautiful to know that kind of love, Laura. A lot of people don't get to know that. And he sacrificed to show you that love and support, to make you really to encourage you to keep going. And I'm very proud of
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Very
you.
proud
Thank
of you.
you. I mean, I
Yeah,
really do feel like he went in. Oh, sorry. He went into, I feel like hell for me. I mean, he really did. He went in for hell to pull me out and to give me the ability to do this. I think I wouldn't have made it without him. Like, I
You got to
wouldn't have
turn it
got
around.
free. I
That's
wouldn't have
right.
written the books or anything. So,
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yes.
he came
Tricia,
so
did you want
far
to add
too.
something?
Yeah, because I remember you telling the story too of when you were first trying, you were first starting to go through this and trying to tell him, and he wasn't he wasn't there. He didn't believe you, and
mm,
Of
that
course.
journey that you ended up going on together. Wow. And then
yeah. Because the beginning was rocky, the marriage was rocky, and there's no way it couldn't have been. And
Mhm.
then we grew into this amazing, fantastic love that I never even knew existed at the end. So we had that.
See,
I'm still mad at him for leaving though. But
He's
anyway,
still there. Yeah, he's fighting on the other side, that's for
I
sure.
know.
And
I know.
and he's going to have a lot more pull for over there too, you know. And so a couple things I want to touch on. You know,
mm,
right now we're living in a world as Donna said, and it is an awakening period, and it has to have this exposure, and with that, there's a lot of speculation. So, in your mind and understanding and your experience of what happened with you, Laura, those folks that people have said are bad, like Hillary Clinton and those folks, and other people are saying, well, maybe she's not, maybe she was playing a role. So you can put that to rest for us that she is not a good person.
Monster. You said
Hillary Clinton is not a good person. So I think maybe we should understand that, like Obama, Hillary Clinton, I don't know the rest, but I know specifically him and her because two survivors testified that they were programmed with Obama. So they start out in the programming, right? And so at some point, each person who's going through the program of that SRA and the MK Ultra, you're going to be given a choice. Are you going to join them, or are you going to keep fighting and never join them? And Hillary Clinton and Obama decided somewhere along the line to join them because they both were abused as a kid. So we need to say that. But somewhere along the line, they decided to join Lucifer's team. And from that moment on, wherever that choice was made, as far as Hillary Clinton, I've watched her hurt, kill, eat, drink many children's blood and everything else about that. Because I was made a slave to her about 16, 17. So they just, kind of, anyway, somewhere in there. And it's not that I was made a slave personally to her, but it's not like you see them all the time because they have a ton of slaves through the MK Ultra program. So all the politicians, if they want them, can have sex slaves or whatever kind of slaves. I do not know if she preferred a child, but I do know that she did murder many and do all the horrible things that you've heard before that are done in a sacrifice. She was very committed to satanic ritual ceremonies and their belief system. And the thing that you need to understand is for satanic cabal, they are very committed to their belief system of satanic ritual stuff. So just as if you're, I tried to explain this the other night, if you're a religious person or just a person that believes deeply in God and you try to live your life by what he wants you to do, and that's your whole life, like, you're trying to be a good person. Well, they have just a deep conviction, but it's to Satan. And that's what people need to understand. And so their rules, what they do in their ceremonies is very organized. And so these people are very committed to this. So there's a deeply spiritual evil that they are that they connect to. So when everybody talks about they drink blood and they eat the bodies, well, they're doing it because they worship Satan. And people need to understand that it's part of the satanic ritual. And
Can I
they're
ask a
getting a
question?
reward from it.
Can I
Yeah,
ask
Donna,
a
go ahead.
question? I'm sorry. I think that there's so many layers to this programming. They're fantastic marketers, through the television and many other things, and Women's Lib and everyone loving Hillary. And, it was just wild how they drew women in. Women can work and be independent. I mean, it's just fascinating. But it's so dark and evil, but it's fascinating. But I have a question.
Okay.
It all comes down to love and forgiveness. Like really forgiving the evil, like understanding that they were beautiful, innocent babies too, and then they got slaughtered, and they're really operating out of an altered mind. I don't know if I'll live long enough to see that. I mean, I would love to be able to be part of that, joy. I think it's about if we can forgive and have them come. I don't know. Well, you work with survivors, so when you get the survivor to come around to the point before they were altered, that's the point of survival, the recognition before. Am I right to say that? I mean, the physicality to the body, even mentally, has nothing to do with God's child, the spirit and soul inside. Like, how do I'm trying to, I think that anyone who's operating at such a dark level has been spiritually sabotaged. But of course, right? Sometimes people are not repairable and they need to be extinguished, in my opinion.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
if you can, and we have to realize, as horrific as it is, like Michael Jacobs always saying, keep it in the love. And the bottom line really is, even when someone assaulted you or was so rude or whatever it is, God forbid, even killed your child, whatever, something horrible, you can't live in the anger and the negativity. It's not good for the universe. It's not good for you. It's not good. That's not your point. That's not your purpose of being here. It is about keeping your heart open and free, keeping the love flowing through. How many survivors got to that recognition again, Laura? Like, if there were 300, is it 50? Is it 200? How many of them really get there to release it and feel the love again and forgive?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, first of all, you can't love or forgive anybody until you've worked through your trauma. So
Right,
just because you're supposed to love doesn't mean you're going to love, because
right.
if those wounded parts of you are carrying a lot of trauma, it's impossible to love and forgive. But you can
Yeah.
heal those parts. And those are the modalities that I use, like the healing modalities that can help you get to the point of forgiveness naturally after you heal those wounded traumas. But what I found was, um, so altars, you guys know what altars are, right?
Mm,
You're,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, so altars are the ones that carry the trauma.
Hmm.
And so when you're the program that the Lord showed me to do and heal and help heal is very we have to go the way they put it in, but from the age that I would be now until into the womb. That's how you work it through so you don't get re-traumatized. There's specific ages that they did, very big events, and so we work with those. Anyway, this is probably not the best way to get into the whole story, but there's a very organized way to go through and remove the programming so the person isn't re-traumatized. And as you work through with the altars, then I have them go to the courts of heaven, and Jesus can heal their woundedness in seconds. And so when you have removed all of this stuff, the person's not really left with too much trauma, or if any, because the altars have already been healed. They're the ones that carry the woundedness. So that's what happens when you have a bunch of altars in these compartments. You're healing them, and you're removing what they're trapped in, and they're also trapped in by demons, because these are satanic people. So they attach demons to what they're doing, into a survivor. So you have to remove that too, or they can't get free. And that's something that a lot of survivors don't understand, which I didn't know either. But anyway, this is through a long process. It has worked beautifully. I didn't work with 300. That was the guy that I worked with, just to let you know.
Oh, sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, and not all did I complete. We worked, through a long time. And I'm just going to be honest, and I think that survivors, they probably should listen to what I'm about to say. Is survivors, some are willing to go to the end, and they'll do whatever it takes to heal themselves and get done. But there are also survivors who will go as far as they can, and then they're done. And the part that they can't usually go to, but they have to if they want to heal, is what they were made to do, to hurt. Because see, survivors because that's how the cult keeps their quietness, and their the survivor knows they can never get free, because they have been made to hurt people too. But they were made to hurt people in an altar. And so you have to understand that when you talk to a survivor. And so what I try to help people see is, did that person hurt another person in their conscious mind with their free will? That means they can't be in an altar when they hurt somebody. And that's how you know. So Hillary Clinton, she was not in an altar. She was in a conscious free will choice. And so was Obama. And so many of them are no longer under an altered state, because they made a choice of free will choice to follow Lucifer. And in all of these secret societies, their main goal is to get the person to choose them freely, Lucifer. That's the whole thing. That's their whole thing, to get your free will. And they try to make you believe you've given your free will through the whole thing. So that's what I try to help survivors understand. If you did something in your altered state, it's not your free will. It was somebody else's will, and God will forgive you. He is forgiving you. He's already forgiven you. But you still need to carry some responsibility, right? Like, I feel like I try to teach survivors, it wasn't your free will choice, but still you need to say, I'm sorry, because you did that. But a survivor never wants to do that, but it's the only way the cult can keep them a part of being them. And then they have to make you believe that God will never accept you because of what you've done. And so their tricks to keep you under control are very, let's just say they know what they're doing. And so they do that to you right off the bat. They even make little children hurt other children.
I'm sure.
All of this starts right off the bat. You have to understand that. And that's why some survivors, including, it's probably the hardest thing that you can try to get over is the guilt, because you're not in alignment with them. Your soul isn't in alignment with what they're doing. And so that in itself can crush you and kill you because of that main thing. So if you don't have the altars, you're not going to survive to do what they want. Like, if you don't, you're going to die. And anyway.
Laura, I've got a question. So I get it's hard to reconcile that your grandfather made this deal and you lost your legal right. How I'm literally like, God, why, how is that okay? Like, to put, that wasn't your choice. And I struggle with that. You're like, God, why is this allowed to happen to so many people? You didn't have a choice.
Well, I mean, that is the question of the day for all of us, really, is like, why is our free will taken away when it's our free will gift? Everybody's given the free gift, right, from God, to just be born. You have free will, and it is taken away. It truly is. So it's really hard to understand that part. I wish I could tell you, but even if you're not a survivor, demons can have legal rights to you in your family, in your bloodline. Because, like, let's say a great grandfather did something really bad, and he could have even made a covenant with a demon. May not have had anything to do with satanic ritual abuse, but it might have just said, if you give me riches, I'll, give whatever. So he at that moment made a covenant that will be passed down to all the generations after him, and the demon has legal right to those people because of their grandfather's decision. Try to make that make sense. I can't. I don't know how to make it sense. I don't, but it's real. I've done so many ancestor clearings for people, and they don't. I tell everybody to do it, like clean your bloodline, because demons can have legal right to you for, let's say, money. If you want to get an understanding of that, go to Robert Henderson, Courts of Heaven. He explains ancestral clearing pretty well. He's got a ton of videos on YouTube, but I would look at the ones on Courts of Heaven. That really made
Robert Henderson.
Yeah.
It made a huge difference working with clients myself and doing ancestor clearing. It makes a huge difference to do your clearing. It's in my books, how to do it, and also what modalities you can use to find out information. You can muscle test, or you can use body code 2, which I use both, and just God showing you, and then the client knowing what's a little bit of what happened. Sometimes they don't even know what happened, though. Like, they don't know what their great grandfather did. And in this process, they will learn what happened. Like, I don't know how to explain it to you. It will be revealed. The last thing that I did, I'll have to share this real quick, is I was doing an ancestor clearing for a friend, and we had done all but his mother's side, I believe it was. And she showed up, And I may have had that happen one time in all the people I've ever worked with. And I just started crying. And I'm like, what in the world? I've never cried doing ancestor clearing. And she was showing me what happened to her because she had schizophrenia. And her son never knew what happened to her. Like he just thought it was a mental illness. And it's not a
Oh my
mental illness, it's
God.
because of some trauma. And she showed up, and I'm not kidding because I use body code and muscle testing and some other things.
Mm-hmm.
We found out exactly what happened to her. She wanted me to show her son what happened. I could not stop crying. It was just like she was there and she was showing me, like, I'm not kidding. It was just
Wow.
wow. And then her
Yeah.
son's like, oh my gosh, now all these years that I've been so traumatized by my mom, now I can understand why she acted the way she
Aw.
did. So that was
Wow.
pretty cool.
Yeah. That is very cool. And
Wow.
so I just have another just basic question. So what you went through was the worst of the worst of the horrific thing that most people can't wrap their heads around. But on the surface, that is obviously being shown that that's happening in the music industry and the acting industry, and you even said at the very beginning of our conversation, the frontal Disney uh part was removed, and so tell when you watch the things, certain things that happen in um with Nickelodeon and the music industry, all those things, can you very clearly see when people have been MK Ultra or what's happening, and do you feel like that is a widespread thing in that goes on there?
Hmm.
Definitely with the celebrities. I mean, you have to understand that all MK Ultra are programmed with a template, so we all have the same programming, but not maybe the same kind of category that we're going to be in. I was in politics, and they were, they had skills to be a celebrity. So they're definitely, most of them are MK Ultra, absolutely, for 100%. So
I have a quick question. When your grandfather signed that deal and it could never ever be broken, is there a way to break that seal? Is there a
yes.
prayer or?
Yeah, I did break it for sure. Yeah, you cast out. Well, first of all, you do break it with. I have God to help me break it, and then I
Mhm.
also have the legal rights that they had, and then the demon legal right that had to me and to my family. Yes, you break that.
Excellent.
I like to do it in the courts of heaven. You don't have to, but it
I
is
like it. Yeah.
basically saying a prayer to break all that.
Can I ask another question, if you might? Can we go back to the public government officials who give signals that trigger the sleeping cells, repetitive verbiage? I find that to be
Mm-hmm.
very effective when they drop words like Epstein, and then years later we're here with Epstein. I think that's the way to prep the world. Would you think that President Donald Trump is also doing activations when he gives speeches as well to wake up, signaling certain cells? Have they been able to mingle in there yet?
I
To
don't
work
know.
on the same strat. I mean, I'm just wondering. I'm not saying
I
that
don't
anybody's
know.
our hero but ourselves and God, trust me. But I do think there's a lot happening here, Laura, and I think that your information is like over the top amazing. But I'm just wondering, with all of the stimulation that people are receiving with live assassinations and live murders, I think those are triggers. I think it's a shattering of mind control or fear mongering. I think that that's something much bigger than I even understand, but I can recognize it. And I think, I had this Twilight sort of a dream. This is how I have them sometimes. And I saw me on stage for whatever reason. It was at one of these summits. It was thousands of people, like everyone we know, and tons of people that were just loving the recognition of weight, us feeling a lot of love in us. It was very powerful. And President Trump crashed our party, and I thought he had some nerve to do that. And John Jr., if he is alive, he was standing there being himself. So it was like this weird thing. And then because I'm a little nervous starting out, and I don't, I'm a little nervous. I'm not experienced, but I'm comfortable with just following what I need to do. And then I thought to myself, President Donald Trump, like him or not, is doing God's work. I mean, in a way, he is a spokesperson. And I was saying this in this twilight place I was. And I said to him, you are the most hated and loved person on the planet. Good for you. I said, you know, nobody knows who you're working with and what you're accomplishing, and you never talk about it. It's not out there for us to know yet. But yet you'll take the upper punches you get and hated upon, and you'll just smile. You know, he's sitting there. I'm assuming this is my fantasy of him, that he knows so much and things are really happening. And I like the fact that his number one concern was child trafficking and harm to children, human beings, as a president coming into the presidency, as Lewis Herms is doing for governor. I mean, that's big to put that out
Mhm.
there like that. This is really breaking a lot of what we've never had here in
Right.
America, on the planet. So this is really large what we're living in. You know, this is not a mistake that the four of us are sitting here having this chat. We have to
Right.
Right.
accept, well, I don't can't use word have to it, because that's not fair. But of course, when you get your blood work done and they took children into hospital to be born, they got your DNA from the beginning. They of course, it's all a strategy. So yes, probably our DNA spread all over the world. Who's to know? That part is so far down the road for us to learn. Let's just work on the fact that they're revealing. And I was just wondering, is that when you mentioned the military was so infiltrated, we do have a lot of military podcasters that are
Mhm.
truth speakers, or they're being told what to do. I mean, I think kind of in the beginning, COVID was a great place to bring in another action of speakers to reach an audience. And at this point, it's becoming more grassroots, and podcasting is a much more important world, and definitely keeping us around yourself, around sincere, good people, not trying to make money, not selling things, not just really sincerely working from your heart, is the way we're going to reach people. You know, like the way
Mhm.
you're speaking very gently, all of us. I think it's about talking about the worst thing imaginable. It's not comprehensible. People cannot comprehend what you're saying. It's just not a comprehensible thing. It just isn't. No one's going to believe that there are many step-ins and clones, and the DNA was taken, and there's other species in the planet. And I kind of think it's weird. Like, we should really just look at one thing. If the seven continents of the world, let's leave America for a minute, how we're used to what Americans look like, and let's go over to Japan. There's a part on this earth that has completely different species. I mean, they're called humans, but they live completely different in a sense or way. They believe everything about their appearance and everything. Go to Africa, you go go anywhere. So I think we've been blending in and mixing in, and I think there's a lot of species inbred in us, and I think it's hereditary. I think it's a spiritual journey. You're blended in with different um, connected energy, and I don't think that's. I think we should be able to say those things, and I think some of them, like you say. And I have a question about Lucifer for
Okay.
all three of you, okay?
Okay.
I was under the impression that Lucifer was one of the most conceited, most brilliant love child of God. I mean, God just loved that guy, right? And he did wrong, and he got his ass kicked and was booted out. So I think the hatred and the killings and all of this worshiping is because this Lucifer and his followers believe that God will never forgive them and that they're not lovable. So they are fighting and kicking the fact, I'm not lovable. God doesn't love me. I will continue on my journey to show him how much hate I have. And I feel that once God brings his hand, Lucifer will melt into the most beautiful angel possible. And I think it will be immediate that things will change our energy here. And it can happen this quick. But while we're here operating the way we are right now, if that was to come in our lifetime, we're going to just have to pull up our pants, be the parents, be adults, and have conversations that are very uncomfortable. Not vulgar. We don't have to go into detail. Nobody wants that. But I think it's going to help bring awareness, because I think mom and dads need to protect their children. And I also
Right.
think that the
Right.
alpha men in America have been severely attacked. I'd like to see all the men in America be brave and strong, which you are. You're not a woman, you're not female. We're two different creatures under the name of human. We have nothing in common, but we like to mate, we make children, and we cohabitate, yada yada. But they were severely attacked, and it's the American men that really got
Mhm.
really attacked. And they did it by bringing in women's lib, and women had no rights. Did anyone ever think you didn't have rights? what they
Mhm.
did to get you out there to not care about your body, to abort a baby, just rip that baby out of you. That's okay because you have a right. And then
Yeah.
how does it make you feel? I get so twisted. I'm going to go off. I'm going to go off for a second. I'll get right back. But two states in America brought to the floor of our government. Now think about the process. Two states in our America came to our government and wanted to pass a law that after 26 weeks of birth, you can still say, I want to abort it. Who the fuck does that? What does that say about your goddamn? How did that even get there? You're going to say you can kill someone at 26 weeks old? What is it going to be 18 one day? The kid's a pain in the ass. Kill it. I mean, the concept that that was even out there. And when I brought it up to people, I'm like, they're like, no. I go, yes, it is. Go look it up right now. And there wasn't even a real reaction. I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
this is your
You know, Donna,
country. I'm
Donna, this
crazy,
is so
right? I'm
interesting.
sorry.
No, you're not crazy, but what you're saying is to us, who haven't gone through the trauma that Laura's gone through is unthinkable. That's not that's unthinkable as well. And
Of
then what
course.
Laura's been through is a whole level of unthinkable, and
Yes.
so they're doing and it's funny. I just talked to a woman. Her name is Michelle Peterson, and her son was
Yes.
groomed, and she's a very brave soul too, and I
Yes.
really admire her as well, because we talked about grooming in general, grooming, um, bad grooming. There's good grooming if you want to groom someone in the good, but the bad grooming somebody, they've been grooming our entire world by
Mhm.
saying that these things are acceptable, by saying that type of abortion is acceptable, and they're getting us towards acceptability of what kind of of what Laura has been accosted to do as a young child, child against child, and pedophilia and all that stuff. We've been, as a
Mhm.
country, we've been groomed,
Yes.
in this area to accept these horrific things, um,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, that's why a lot of us can actually hear what Laura's saying, because we've been hearing about all of this, but still, Laura's story is still, it's not going to be heard yet by the average person. They have to go through the Epstein stuff first, right?
Yeah.
And go through that. But then Laura's going to be needed more and more and more and more. Your story is going to be heard by more
Yes.
and more and more people, but
It's
it
so
has to start.
helpful.
Oh, so helpful. Laura,
So,
you are such a warrior, and your husband on the other side is your wings beneath you, and for sure. Um, and so I can't thank you enough for being here. Are there any other topics here that you wanted to touch on, Laura, before we ended for the evening?
I don't know. That's probably enough shock for one night, right? But just to answer your question about the abortion, is the reason why they're doing that is because they need the babies for sacrifice.
right. Of
So that's
course.
why they're letting the late abortion take place. They're going to steal the babies for the sacrifice. So
Laura, I think the four of us here is a confirmation about the intention we have to follow God's word. And it's you look back on it and you think, wow, look at America in 100 years even. I mean, look at the family that you had and healthy and how thin and healthy everybody was. And then you're here and it's 2026 and we have the sickest children. We have all pollutants in our foods. People are just starting to get it. I'm sorry that you were raised to maybe go to school, become like a professional, get your license, and then realize that you were manipulated as well. And I
mhm.
think and I think that's going to be a hard digestion for people, and especially a lot
Mhm.
of our medical field. They are, I would say 90% of the physicians are doing due diligence, and the attorneys as well, and teachers, and everyone who's employed to be a productive part of our country here in America. But I think it's about when they took away to think out of the box, think for yourself. Like, for example, there was snowing here. Yay, we had a big snowstorm. Glad for my grandkids. And so my neighbor's sons were going to help me, which was nice. And then I didn't see it happening. She goes, "Oh my God, they gave up. It was just too much." Kids today. Well, let me tell you, me today, if that was my kid, get your ass outside, learn to build endurance, and go do the shoveling. That child has to learn how to build up its endurance. It has to learn how to figure it out.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah,
and I think the parent was loving and kind. It was just too much, and unconscious
right.
behavior weakening their ability to be self-sufficient. And I used to tell my kids, you're going to learn it now, you're going to learn it at 40. You decide, you tell me, I'll stop right now. You want to learn it at 40, I'll stop. And I don't know what else to,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, no, I hear you, and we're hopefully we'll be getting back to that for sure. And one thing I do want to say as we were talking about this to all of you, I do think that they just had a big prayer over Donald Trump, hands on him, and they dedicated with we were a nation under God again,
Yes.
and we're
Yes.
doing a day of prayer on May 17th. He's having that. The National Day of Prayer is May 7th, but for some reason he's having his on May 17th. But and so this is going to be a worldwide prayer, and so we are going in the greatest direction of all, which is towards the goodness of God and the glory of God. And there's going to be a lot of things we've got to get through, but ultimately God wins. Um, and that's always been my hope and prayer, for sure. Um, Tricia, any last comments that you would like?
No, I'm a little saturated.
Laura, gotcha, huh?
Well, yeah, and I know I actually did go down this path in late 2020, early 2021, around that time frame, and this just kind of brought it all back, and validated and reminded me. And yeah, it's a very heavy. I am just so thankful that there's people like Laura that are
Yeah,
putting everything into, and unfortunately suffered a terrible loss here in our physical world of her amazing husband,
Mhm.
um, to put it all out there and help people that are like Laura. And I just, you know, worry and wonder about the other people that are going to figure out that they're part of these millions. I mean, with 10% of, I think I heard you say in your podcast, Laura's 10% of society is in this is the same as Laura. That one's tough. That
That's a
one's
tough one,
really,
I know. But I think what's happening is that there is awakening, not just for the world, but also survivors are starting to wake up. Like I know this doesn't compare, but the Mothers of Darkness are a role in the Illuminati that I doubt anybody got free, really, probably all of these decades, century, whatever. But a lot are starting to wake up. So something's cracking in
Mhm.
hmm
this system of satanic teaching. So people are waking up. And I think the more we all wake up, the more energetically, because we're all connected to each other, I really feel like we
yep,
will help each other wake up more and more and more and more. And I think
right,
survivors will wake up too, more and
yeah,
agreed.
more. And I
that
think
means
that they are.
God is ready to
Amen.
wake us up then.
Yep.
Yes,
And
it
then
is.
I'm not a love person, you guys. I'm more kick your ass warrior type. So I will just say it's time to kick their ass. Okay. And then you guys can say the love part. Okay.
Yeah, no,
I'm
I'm
sorry,
I'm
I'm
a
not quite there.
combination. No, that's okay. I kick ass and love God too. I'm good with that. So really, because I do think those of us that have the eyes to see these things right now, um, are warriors.
Yes.
And we can be super nice and loving, but our sword does come out, and we're all warriors. I know the people in the chat are the same way. We got to fight. We're gonna be standing in the front line. So we hear you, Laura, and we appreciate you so much. And I just want one more time, I am so thrilled that I'll be going to this event in April, and I'll be able to
Okay.
meet you, Laura, and give you a hug, because I just am so grateful for what you're doing. And people can go to the Awakening Summit, and I just want to make sure I have it right here. I'll put it all in the chat as well, so that people can go and sign up. But it's going to be a special event talking about a topic, obviously, that is just starting to get what
Surface.
the exposure it needs to get. And thank you, Donna, for putting this on.
Mhm.
Really appreciate you for doing this, Donna, and your vision of this topic. And Laura, so grateful that
Mhm.
you took the time to be with us tonight. It's I knew this was going to be an important, a really important night, and
Yes.
and I hope people will come back and share this and watch this for a
Thank
long,
you.
long time.
Thanks for having
Yes.
me. I will
Thank you
tell you
so
this
much,
really
Ellen.
quick. I'm
Yes.
sitting here after I just have been talking and telling things, and I'm like, do you know that most people in this world don't tell anything about their lives? And I'm sitting here telling the whole world the worst things in the world. Have I lost my mind?
Up. We need to hear it.
Oh my
We
gosh.
need to hear it.
No,
We need
it's
to.
part of the awakening, and you're doing such a service, not only in the books that you're setting up, but you're helping people one by one, and they're
Right.
going to be coming out two by two, four by four, and it's so important. And you telling your life story is part of the healing for so many people in the
Yeah.
Well,
future,
thanks for
currently and
saying
in the
that.
future.
When
A
I
hundred
Yeah,
say to
so
percent.
myself, you're crazy doing this, I'll remember what you said.
And
But
I
anyway,
can feel that I can feel that in my bones, and I know Tricia and Donna also feel that in their bones too. I mean, my goodness gracious, I thank God for people like you.
Yes,
You
very
know?
much.
you. Yeah,
Yes.
so
we're
much.
here for a reason.
Yes.
There's
Oh,
I'm very
for sure.
grateful.
And thank you
Thank
for
Yeah.
you.
all your
So
that you guys are doing to try to bring out information out to the world, right? Because everybody has their job, I so to speak, here right
Yeah.
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
yes,
thank you.
exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
Thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday night. It was such
yes.
a
Thank you.
incredible experience sharing it with you ladies tonight. Enjoy the
Thank
rest of
you.
your weekend and look forward to seeing you in April.
Okay,
Thank
see you
you.
guys
Nice to
later.
Okay.
meet you, Trish.
All
I'll see
right.
you in April,
Bye.
ladies. Bye.
Okay. Bye.